In this video, we're going to work a few more examples to put the idea together. I'm not going to read the how-to feature there. I'll let you guys read that. Let's start. We're going to graph this function and identify amplitude and period. Okay, so we can tell what we have here. Okay, I'm going to write down the function again. Just kind of how I work. Right, and I like to separate this as going to be pi over 2 with the x on the outside. I kind of like it that way better. Helps me see the b better. Right, so amplitude in this case is going to be a 2. Remember, it's a positive. The period, we do 2 pi divided by b, and b in this case is pi over 2. The pi's cancel, the 1/2 flips over, giving us a 4. So we have amplitude is 2, period is 4. Looking at this function, there is no shifts left or right, or up or down, but that negative will flip my sign over. So what I like to do first is typically when I graph these, I don't like to start with a pre-made graph. I just make my own because my units are going to be a bit weird. Okay, but the period is going to help out, kind of gets rid of all my pi's, making it less weird. Okay, so I know my sign is going to be, it's not shifted up, and then my units go from 0 to 4. So I'm going to put in these points, 2, 1, 3. Okay, and I know my sign starts at 0, so I'm going to go ahead and start graphing this thing. Starts here at 0, and then it usually goes up, but this negative is going to send it down, just like a parabola would send it down. So it goes down, and then I got to follow my amplitude. My amplitude goes all the way down to 2. Then it goes back up, because that's what sine does, and then it goes all the way to its top, and then back down. All right, now take a look. The period is 4. Took 4 units to do the whole thing. The amplitude is 2, and that negative flipped it over. So I'm going to do my best to make this smooth. All right, and we can actually even, and I'm going to cheat here a little bit, I can take this and duplicate, and you can see I can keep getting that sine function. I wish I could have done that again. Just if I go back maybe, yeah. Duplicate again. I could keep just adding this thing to both sides, on and on, right? And I wouldn't have the 1, 2, 3, 4, because that only applies to that first one. But you can see that this just repeats on forever in both ways. It depends on what they say. They may want 1 period, 2 periods, 3 periods. I would give on a test, I'd give you the directions for that. How many periods do you need to draw? All right, let's do another example here. So now we have a cosine function. G of x is equal to negative 0.8 cosine of 2x, and then they gave us things they want us to find, maybe that'll help us. The midline, right, midline is right in the middle. That is y equals 0. It didn't move up or down, right in the middle. Amplitude is 0.8. It'll never be the negative. Period is 2 pi divided by b, and in this case, b is 2. So the period is going to happen every pi. And then they wanted the shifts. Well, there's nothing added in here. There's nothing added on the outside, so there are none. All right, so we're going to graph this. The midline is still 0. And then we move. There are no shifts, so I'm going to start right on the midline. And the period goes from 0 to pi. So I'm going to break that up. Okay, oops, sorry about that. 0 to pi, so I'm going to have these 4 tick marks along with that. So I have 5 there. And cosine does not start on the midline. It starts usually above it, but what's going to change things here is that negative there. That negative is going to, instead of starting above the midline, it's going to start below. And then we got to do our units here. I'm going to do, we have to go up 0.8. 0.2468. We'll just do this as a 1. We'll make our lives easy. So it's a little past the third one because that'll be a 0.75. But the negative is making it go down, so it's going to start here, and we'll just make it hit right above that tick mark. And then I know it's going to, let's do this in a different color. So it's there, and then it goes to the midline, past the midline, so 0.8 up here, back down to the midline, and then finishes back where it started. So it looks something like this. So that's 1 period. And then I could take this thing and duplicate and put them next to each other, and you can see that I start getting, and it would be a lot smoother than my sketch, right? They would meet at more of a curve rather than a point. So there is that cosine function. Midline's still there. The amplitude is just 0.8. The period is pi. That's why it starts repeating a little faster here, and there were no shifts. These are going to take some time. I know for me, when I started, the whole idea of where do I actually place things on the midline, and then, like I said, I would start on an XY plane here on a problem like that, and obviously pi and all that stuff won't fit on it. So normally what I'll do is I'll just draw it myself, just a straight x-axis, and fill them in myself.